Good afternoon. We will soon start with the session 1, which is introductory session to the official ceremony. Before we start, please use the Slido and put there the region that you are coming from, so we will have the view which regions are participating here today. Also, during the session, during the speeches, you will be able, via Slido, to pose the questions. They will not be visible during the speech, but we will get them at the end, so then we can address the speakers after that. We can start, and today we will discuss very important topic, which is like security and cooperation, and how this is influencing, like boosting the cooperation, fostering across the border, but at the same time ensuring the security. In these days, this is really delicate and really important. I'm really pleased that we have this evening speakers with us today. We have the Karl-Heinz Lambert, the President of Association of European Border Regions with us. Sigmund Wait Bako, State Secretary of Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development of Norway. Ivan Eriksson, State Secretary of the Ministry of Justice and the Public Security of Norway, and Jelena Drenjanin, Chair of the Governance Committee of Congress of Local Regional Authorities of Council of Europe. Thank you very much for being today with us. Let's start with the first speech. It's my pleasure to invite Mr. Lambert to take the floor and speak about the impact of different views on cooperation and security in the European border regions. Mr. Lambert, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And it works?
Yes.
Okay. And to bring a little bit diversity in this discussion, I will make my speech in German, so everyone can appreciate the high quality of our interpreters. Wenn man die Begriffe Sicherheit und Zusammenarbeit hört und das auf den europäischen Kontext anwendet, dann hat man auf den ersten Blick den Eindruck, dass diese beiden Dinge überhaupt nicht zusammenpassen. In der Tat, the interpretation doesn't work. Yes, it was just the microphone in the interpretation place. Zweiter Versuch. Wenn man die Begriffe Sicherheit und Zusammenarbeit in einem europäischen Kontext anwenden will, dann hat man zuerst den Eindruck, da gibt es einen Riesenkonflikt. Das eine schließt das andere sozusagen aus. Europa, das heißt ja vor allem mehr Integration, mehr Zusammenarbeit, mehr offene Grenzen und das auf einem Kontinent, der trotz seiner Kleinheit, wir sind der zweitkleinste Kontinent nach Australien, für diejenigen, die das noch nicht in Erinnerung haben oder nicht mehr in Erinnerung haben, auf diesem kleinen Kontinent besteht weltweit die höchste Dichte an Staatsgrenzen. Und wenn man da Zusammenhalt und Zusammenarbeit zustande bringen will, dann müssen diese Grenzen überwunden werden. Wenn man aber dann mit Sicherheitsfragen zu tun hat, dann gibt es einen uneingeschränkt vorzufindenden Reflex der Staaten, sobald ein Problem der Sicherheit auftaucht, gibt es den Grenzschließungsreflex und die Grenzen werden zugemacht. Egal, ob das jetzt Sinn macht oder unsinnig ist, das ist etwas, was unmittelbar geschieht. Wir erleben es dieser Tage wieder in großem Ausmaße. Doch stimmt das wirklich? Sind diese beiden Begriffe unvereinbar? Sind es Gegensätze? Wenn man den Dingen auf den Grund geht, dann kann man auch eine andere Analyse an den Tag bringen. Zuerst muss man mal klar sagen, worum geht es bei Sicherheit? Da geht es um Fakten, aber da geht es vor allem um Gefühle. Unsicherheit gibt es natürlich auch materiell, aber die politisch gefährlichste Unsicherheit ist die in den Köpfen der Menschen besteht und die manchmal überhaupt nichts mit Fakten, zumindest mit real erlebbaren oder erlebten Fakten zu tun hat. Und deshalb ist das Sicherheitsthema auch so wichtig. Die gesamte Flut an Populismus, die wir in Europa und weltweit erleben, man braucht sich bloß den amerikanischen Wahlkampf ein bisschen anzuschauen, hat damit zu tun, dass die Menschen verunsichert sind, dass sie Ängste haben und sie bringen das immer mit irgendeiner Gefahr in Verbindung. Und wenn man dem Thema wirklich auf den Grund gehen will, dann darf man sich auch nicht darauf beschränken, zu schauen, wo denn irgendwelche Menschen physisch angegriffen oder mit Waffen bedroht oder sogar getötet werden. Dann muss man alle anderen Lebensbereiche mit einbauen, zum Beispiel die Cybersicherheit, zum Beispiel auch die soziale Sicherheit, die Sicherheit, ein Leben hinzubekommen, wo am Ende des Monats auch noch genügend Geld da ist, um alles zu bezahlen, was man braucht. All das kommt zusammen. Und deshalb ist Sicherheit aus meiner tiefen Überzeugung, auch nach einem halben Jahrhundert politischer Erfahrung, zurzeit und vielleicht sogar überhaupt das wichtigste Thema, das es überhaupt geben kann. Demokratie, Menschenrechte, all das kann man nur umsetzen, wenn die Menschen sich sicher fühlen. Also muss man dafür sorgen, dass Sicherheit da ist. In der Wirklichkeit und auch in den Köpfen und Herzen der Menschen. Und das wiederum geht nur durch Kooperation. Heute kann niemand mehr sich so einigeln, dass er für sich alleine seiner Bevölkerung die Sicherheit in einer globalisierten Welt gewährleisten kann. Also auch beim Zustandekommen von Sicherheit und beim Bekämpfen der Ursachen von Unsicherheit kommt es ganz entscheidend auf Zusammenarbeit an. Und diese Zusammenarbeit ist natürlich gerade in Sicherheitsfragen sehr oft eine Zusammenarbeit, die Grenzen überschreitet und bei denen der Begriff der Grenze sowieso eine ganz große Rolle spielt. Überhaupt ist der Begriff der Grenze etwas eigentlich Beeindruckendes, Fantastisches. Es gibt keine wissenschaftliche Disziplin, in der man sich nicht mit Grenzen auseinandersetzen muss. Das gilt natürlich für die Geografie, das ist evident, das gilt für die Politik, das gilt aber auch für die Nanotechnologie, für die Astronomie, für die Philosophie, für die Psychologie. Es gibt Menschen, die brauchen zum Klären ihre eigenen persönlichen Grenzen ein Leben lang einen Psychiater und kommen dann doch nicht am Ende zu Potte. Das ist ein universelles Thema, diese Grenzen. Und deshalb hat es auch so eine große Bedeutung. Und grenzüberschreitende Zusammenarbeit ist ja eigentlich die Möglichkeit, wirklich den Dingen auf den Grund zu gehen und Ursachen zu beseitigen, indem man richtig zusammenarbeitet. Oder indem man da, wo auch Grenzen klar gestaltet werden müssen, diese dann gemeinsam gestaltet. Und das sind die großen Herausforderungen unserer Zeit. Unser Thema hier jetzt heute und morgen wird dazu sicherlich viele Beiträge leisten können. Zusammenarbeit setzt immer voraus, dass man zuerst die bestehenden Grenzen erkennt. Wer eine Grenze nicht erkennt, der nimmt sich sehr schnell eine blutige Nase. Zweitens muss man die Grenzen anerkennen, akzeptieren. Das ist ganz wichtig. Wenn da eine Grenze ist und niemand ist bereit, das zur Kenntnis zu nehmen, dann gibt es Konflikte. Und der dritte, der schwierigste Schritt ist natürlich dann der, aber auch derjenige, der absolut notwendig ist, das ist der Schritt, die Grenze zu überwinden. Und das setzt sehr viel langfristige Arbeit voraus. Das ist selten etwas, was man innerhalb von 10 Minuten hinbekommt. Und das ist etwas, was vor allem damit zu tun hat, dass man die Situation auf den beiden Seiten der Grenzen, um die es da geht, genau kennt und versteht. Und dazu bedarf es dann sehr oft auch einer sehr hohen interkulturellen Kommunikationskompetenz, wie man das nennen kann. Man muss verstehen, wie der Nachbar funktioniert, wie er organisiert ist. Am besten sollte man seine Sprache auch verstehen und sprechen. Und man muss vor allem bereit sein, dann zur Zusammenarbeit. Und ich bin fest davon überzeugt, dass die Zukunft Europas, egal ob ich jetzt die Europäische Union oder den Europarat nehme, der da ja eine noch faszinierendere Kulisse an Vielfalt hat, egal welches Europa ich da nehme, es muss erfolgreich zusammengearbeitet werden, um die Gefahren, die wir im Bereich der Sicherheit erleben, auszuschalten und um die Probleme und Hindernisse, die da sind, zu überwinden. Das ist der Sinn grenzüberschreitender Zusammenarbeit. Die wird niemals zu Ende sein, denn Grenzen bestehen auf absehbare Zeit weiter und Vielfalt ist übrigens etwas, was man nur erlebt, wenn Grenzen sind, wenn Unterschiede da sind. Und ein Unterschied ist immer etwas, was sich an einer Grenze bemerkbar macht. Also ist das für alle Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeiter der grenzüberschreitenden Zusammenarbeit eigentlich eine sehr beruhigende Angelegenheit. Sie werden niemals ihren Job verlieren, denn je mehr Probleme gelöst werden, desto mehr neue entstehen, wenn mehr Kommunikation da ist. Deshalb das habe ich ja schon oft erzählt, aber da das ja eben meine letzte Anwesenheit als Präsident der AG hier ist, kann ich das nochmal erzählen. Auf dem Gebiet haben die grenzüberschreitenden Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeiter viel gemeinsam mit Totengräbern und Friseuren. Beiden gehen die Kunden nie aus. Vielen Dank.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lammers, for these insightful remarks. Well, for sure, we will all have the jobs in the foreseen future, but I hope that we will deal with not really difficulties of crossing the borders, but more like tuning the European integration. Well, it would be very interesting now to see how the Ministry of Local Governments and Regional Development from Norway see the questions of the cooperation and security, and I would like to invite Ms. Pretsbenko to have a speech. You are free to take the floor.
I will have to see if it works because I'm not very tall and handsome.
Oh,
I think
if you prefer, you can be there.
No, we have tested. It didn't work, yeah. Good day, everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation to Trysil and this annual event of the Association of European Border Regions. I was introduced. My name is Sigrun Pressbakmo, and I'm a state secretary in the Norwegian Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. And I will use this opportunity to share with you some of our experiences on cross-border collaboration, both in the Nordic region and with other European regions, to strengthen our preparedness and ability to handle crisis. We have experienced now what happens when a crisis hits and the borders close. Probably a distant scenario for most European countries before the pandemic. Sadly, we all quickly learned that it became a reality and collaboration froze. Here in the municipality of Trysil, which normally is a vibrant and busy ski resort and tourist destination with many foreign visitors and a large portion of Swedish workers, you can imagine that the impact of the close Norwegian-Swedish border were major and severe. In a border region like this, which have had a completely open border for decades, the daily life for the inhabitants were affected. Families residing on both sides were temporarily separated almost overnight. And the COVID-19 pandemic is behind us. The borders are open, and both European and Nordic cooperation is back to where it was. And in some areas, we even collaborate more and closer than before. However, something has changed. We know now that events such as a pandemic or a critical security situation are likely to happen again. We now live in a more unpredictable world, and we must be prepared so that similar situations do not paralyze our societies. With Sweden and Finland as new NATO members, we quickly started several cross-border initiatives to strengthen both military and civil preparedness in the Nordic countries. Closer cooperation between our countries can contribute to a more coordinated and effective response to potential threats. Joint exercises and resource sharing will strengthen our overall defense capability. And the Arctic Challenge exercise is an example of how we work and collaborate. Such exercises can be expanded and intensified to ensure that we are as well prepared as possible for any threat situation. Closer Nordic defense cooperation also means more activity across borders. We must therefore have the capacity to quickly move personnel and equipment between our countries. This presents some challenges that we must solve together. We are taking several steps to improve our common capacity on highway, railway, and seaway to enhance our preparedness and ability to handle potential crises and threats. Working groups have been established at both the ministry and directorate levels to strengthen Nordic cooperation on civil preparedness in the transport sector. This work includes harmonizing regulations and standards, joint prioritization of transport routes, alerting and information sharing, among other things. On April the 3rd, 2024, the three Nordic transport ministers, Nygaard from Norway, Karlsson from Sweden, and Ranne from Finland, issued a joint statement, which, among other things, stated that the three ministers will, 1, strengthen cooperation to support military mobility between the countries, 2, consider developing a Nordic strategy for the long-term development of cross-border connections based on each country's strategic transport plans. And the third point, ensure that all actors from strategic to operational levels cooperate and exercise regularly. Nordic defense cooperation also creates opportunities for businesses across the borders, with good help of European cross-border initiatives, COMSEC. COMSEC is an exciting project in the Interreg program Sweden-Norway, where several defense industry companies and development actors in central Norway and central Sweden will collaborate to strengthen the region's total defense and create business opportunities for the defense industry in the border region. Border areas can play a key role in handling crises, such as natural disasters, pandemics, and other emergencies. By developing joint preparedness plans and sharing resources, we can ensure a rapid and effective response. A concrete example in the cooperation between Norwegian and Swedish rescue services in border areas, where they share equipment and expertise to handle forest fires and other natural disasters. That's one concrete example. The pandemic and close borders between us taught us a lot about the need for cooperation and coordination in the Nordic region. We saw how closed borders affected both our economics and our societies. This underscores the need to have flexible and adaptable plans that can be activated in times of crisis. For example, many cross-border commuters experienced significant challenges when the borders were closed, naturally, affecting both the labor market and local communities. By establishing clear communication channels and cooperation structures across borders, we can avoid similar situations in the future. This includes sharing information and resources, as well as coordinating measures and ambitions. We can also learn from success stories, such as the Nordic Health Preparedness Cooperation, where countries shared medical equipment and expertise to handle the pandemic. Naturally, our cross-border collaboration is mainly Nordic, but with substantial support from EU initiatives within the regional policy, such as Interreg. We have a long history with participating in Interreg since 1996. It is fair to say that we consider it to be a natural and integrated part of our regional and rural policy. Interreg provides a unique and efficient arena where businesses, educational institutions, research environments, regional and local authorities in border areas can cooperate on, amongst other things, sustainable transport solutions, new health services, nature and environmental management, and as mentioned, innovation in the defense industry. Furthermore, through Interreg, we have been able to expand our collaboration beyond the Nordics. We are collaborating actively within the Baltic Sea region and the North Sea region, and we enjoy access to other Interreg regional initiatives, such as Association of European Border Regions. In connection with the ongoing consultation on the future of Interreg, we have asked the participating regions in Norway to forward their suggestions and plans for the coming Interreg programming period. We have so far experienced that they show great interest and engagement in how they can use the Interreg programs to solve current and relevant issues in their border regions. And we will then summarize and assess the suggestions and inputs and forward our opinion later this fall. One comment was, however, the need to closer cooperation on preparedness and resilience. To summarize, cross-border collaboration in border areas play a crucial role in strengthening both our preparedness and resilience, while it also promotes regional and local development and possibilities. By cooperating across borders, we can ensure a safer and more sustainable future for our border regions. So let us all work together and strengthen our border areas and ensure a safer future for all European countries and border regions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Predbenko, for your speech and also stressing the importance of the Interreg program in the Nordic countries. This is very nice and important. And now I have the opportunity to invite Mr. Eriksson to give us the overview from the point of view of the Ministry of the Justice and Public Security in Norway. The floor is yours if you prefer the stage.
I'm a little taller than you, Sigrun, so I will give this a try. Mr. President, colleagues, dear friends, guten Tag. My name is Eben Eriksen, and I'm State Secretary in the Ministry of Justice and Public Security. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak about security, cooperation, and resilience in a regional perspective. These are all important issues central to our work at the Ministry of Justice and Public Security, and have become even more so during the last years. The extraordinary efforts of Ukraine has been able to make in order to withstand the Russian invasion has clearly shown that resilience and civil preparedness must be integral parts of our societies, in local communities, in regions, in governments, and between nations. The threats to our societies, be they from cross-border criminal activities, climate changes, third countries, or other factors, can only be fully addressed through cooperation at all levels and across borders. In light of this, I am happy that these topics are on the agenda for the Association of European Border Regions. We must work together to ensure security and prosperity, as my colleague said. A natural place for me to start when considering security in a cross-border perspective is with our border to Russia. In the years after the end of the Cold War, cooperation between regions and communities on both sides of the border was encouraged. This led, amongst other things, to the implementation of an agreement between Norway and Russia on a local border traffic regime based on EU law. The aim of this was not only to encourage economic growth on both sides of the border, but also to reduce political tension by establishing and re-establishing social connections across the border in a region where cross-border traffic historically has been the norm. As you can imagine, the situation is now totally different. Due to Russia's war of aggression and the common European sanctions imposed, the cross-border traffic at the only border crossing point between Norway and Russia, Storskog as it is called, is now strongly reduced. For now, formal cross-border cooperation between Norwegian and Russian authorities is limited to what is strictly necessary to maintain security at the land border and at sea. It is difficult to foresee when and if the cross-border cooperation with Russia will return. This put an even stronger emphasis on cross-border cooperation between our European and Nordic regions. The Nordic countries cooperate under the vision that the Nordic region shall be the most sustained and integrated in the world. I'm proud of this goal. This vision departs from a strong foundation and also applies to border management and police cooperation. The Nordic borders have been open to travel without passport since 1954, and integration that was continued as the Nordic countries joined Schengen. However, the principle of free movement within the Schengen area has in recent years faced challenges by several factors, including secondary movement of migrants and the movement across internal borders by people that represent a threat to our internal security, or in our case, also the energy security of Europe. The Nordic countries has therefore been among those with a long-standing control at internal borders. That being said, we have tried to minimize the effect on cross-border travelers by limiting the internal border control to ferries. By checking passenger lists, the police are only checking travelers physically when deemed necessary. This means that the impact on cross-border travelers is minimized. Russia's attack on Ukraine and use of migrants to undermine the security of neighboring countries and the worsening security situation following the crisis in the Middle East has underlined the need for us to know who crosses our borders and are present in our territories. Measures are also in place to minimize the negative impact on cross-border traffic of controls at internal borders, but building on the strong tradition of an open Nordic, I believe it is imperative we find a way to ensure that people can move freely between our nations in spite of the emerging threats to our society. To achieve this, we must ensure that we have all that we have a strong external border control and that the police has the best possible tools to cooperate and operate across borders. But as an integrated Nordic region, I believe we should have an even higher ambition for our cooperation. In 2018, the Nordic Ministers of Justice declared the intent of developing agreements in order to expand the Nordic police cooperation. Since then, Norway and Sweden have signed an agreement on cooperation between our special intervention units. Our aim is to expand the cooperation under this agreement to encompass all Nordic countries. The Norwegian Ministry of Justice and Public Security has therefore tasked the Police Directorate to reach out to our Nordic neighbors with a request to draft a Nordic agreement on cooperation between special intervention units. These units represent capacities that are highly specialized and scarce. It would be highly beneficial if a threat or a crisis in one of Nordic countries could be met with a common Nordic response. Furthermore, a joint police station at the border between Norway and Sweden will open next summer. With a Swedish and Norwegian police working shoulder by shoulder, it can serve as a hub for the cooperation in the border areas. We have also started working on a general agreement on enhanced police cooperation between Norway and Sweden. Our aim in this respect should be that criminals should not be able to benefit from crossing the border. I hope the process on this agreement can serve as a point of departure for agreements with our other Nordic neighbors. With these measures, an even stronger police cooperation should then serve as a key instrument to support the vision of the Nordic as the most sustained and integrated region in the world, and to ensure that the controls we currently experience at our borders can be relegated to the past. Even though it is not directly related to security management, let me also briefly mention the Pact on Migration and Asylum in the EU. A well-functioning migration system with elements such as screening at the external borders and improved Eurodac database and clearer rules on responsibility and procedures may prevent irregular secondary movements and give us a better idea on who is on our territories. I'm therefore hopeful that the pact may contribute positively to the security in our region. The government is also working on different measures in regard of increasing our resilience and civil preparedness. Among the measures to address the changing and demanding security landscape is the establishment of a mobile phone-based population alert system in Norway. The emergency alert system will be used to notify the public in the event of serious and emergency incidents that involve a threat to health, life and health. Emergency alerts can be sent locally, regionally, nationally, based on the need. This will boost our national security and preparedness, and due to the system being based on cell broadcast technology, it will also provide added security for cross-border workers and tourists, as they also will receive a relevant emergency alert on their phones. Finally, dear friends, I should mention that from the beginning that Trysil is my hometown, and the place where me and my family live, just a couple of kilometers over the valley floor. But I grew up in east in the municipality, 10 kilometers from the Swedish border. When I grew up, we often ate dinner in Sweden. I remember I always liked the Swedish sweets better. So my family, we drew often over the border. A part of my family lived there, and I have never thought about the border issues because, for me, the border has never existed. This is a value you cannot put a price tag on. So, finally, therefore, the Association of European Border Regions must continue your work to tear down physical and psychological borders inside Europe I wish you the best of luck for your work in the time to come. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Mr. Eriksson, for your valuable insights. Well, for sure, the cooperation is essential for ensuring the security. This is what is actually we want to address at this session. And now I would like to invite Mr. Renin to take the floor and share with us the views of Congress of Local and Regional Authorities.
Thank you very much. And it's always hard to be the last one, and so many wise things have been said. Thank you for inviting me and the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities. The Congress and AEBR have worked together to promote decentralized cross-border cooperation for many years. And such cooperation has been supported by the European regions in addressing multiple challenges, but also fostering stronger neighborhoodly relations, and notably through capacity building. And I think you all mentioned how important that is. Usually I end with the takeaway messages. This time I will start with the takeaway messages to the border regions, and then why you will hear. The first one is to promote a multi-level governance, especially dialogue between central and regional authorities, as well as horizontal decentralized cross-border cooperation. And I think the State Secretary here had very good example from recently developing cooperation, both to fight criminals, but also with the geopolitical situation. To continue also to work on harmonizing the legal frameworks of providing for horizontal subsidiarity and transfer of competences and resources to transfrontier cooperation bodies. And I think that's a very crucial thing also in this view. But strengthening the capacity building and training of relevant actors is ongoing, but the situation also shows that we have to be faster in identifying who new ones are, because we have rapid change of situations. To reinforce also interinstitutional synergies for the transfrontier cooperation. We also need to support coordinated and cooperative cross-border responses to current and emerging challenges. And that's by strengthening preparedness and resilience. And many of the speakers today have mentioned some. And we have to enhance partnership with Ukrainian regions. And I think we are, but we can still do that, because the results are not too positive. Anyway, we have seen several situations now where central governments have pursued policies of isolation and confrontation with neighbors against the interests and positions of the neighboring regions during the pandemic or in situation of other security threats. And for instance, several European countries have reintroduced temporary border controls in the Schengen area. And in general, the regions are in favor of more pragmatic and balanced mechanisms that encourage horizontal cross-border cooperation solutions. I can just mention Norway and Denmark. They have changed some of the way how they work, because there have been a lot of criminals in Sweden that are trying to gain other areas. So that's one example that's very alarming. Excessive centralization in times of crisis can be counterproductive and last for too long. So I think it's important to evaluate it all the time. And by respecting the principle of subsidiarity and transferring resources from national state to regional and local can make us societies less vulnerable and more resilient. So decentralized cross-border cooperation is essential for territorial development and territorial cohesion on our continent. And the aim is more effective management and communities to reduce disparities between the territories. I don't know, as many of you have mentioned, that we face like a European identity crisis. It's important also to emphasize the need of respect and promote the common values and standards of human rights, democracy, and rule of law. And I think this cross-border cooperation will strengthen those values. But Europe faces many common challenges in these areas too. And as was mentioned before, these challenges, they don't stop at borders. So security in Europe depends on good neighborly relations between border regions, and a secure Europe can only be achieved through cooperation. Over the past decades, a number of changes and developments have significantly had impact on the European region. That's including the Russian Federation war of aggression against Ukraine. We have increased number of terrorist attacks, COVID-19 pandemic, democratic backsliding, deeper social and economic inequalities, the accelerated pace of climate change, and more frequent natural disasters. And we know that they don't stop at borders. They don't know borders. The Russian war of aggression against Ukraine has caused huge humanitarian crisis with massive loss of innocent lives, widespread injury and human suffering, and millions of displaced people. It has led to widespread destruction of vital infrastructure, caused lasting damage to environment. Also, we see intensified cyber attacks on critical infrastructure and disrupted the global food production system. So for more than 2.5 years now, Ukrainians have bravely defended their freedom and the country, and local and regional authorities play a central role in this resilience. And I am quite sure that the work Ukrainians did before the aggression with building strong local and regional management has made them resist Russians in a way that has been shown. So to overcome these challenges, we need more cooperation and coordination, and we have to see national borders as an obstacle. And there are situations like now with the criminality in Sweden that's expanding to Norway and Denmark. Measures had to be taken, but also, I hope, evaluated in time. Also, cross-border regional cooperation in support of Ukraine and its local and regional authorities has been widely praised. And the Congress support a further strengthening of cross-border cooperation and partnerships with Ukraine. We have also environmental changes that we also have to work, and the Congress also promotes the development of human rights-centered and sustainable smart cities and regions, as well as circular economy practices. So we have several reports on these matters. The current situation requires also a transition to the new paradigm of energy and resource management. And here I think absolutely that the local and regional authorities can play a crucial role and set examples. More also should be done to strengthen policies and capacities against hate speech and fake news. New digital and artificial intelligence technologies can be used to harm our democracy, but also remedy to current challenges. The Council of Europe have recently adopted the first ever convention on artificial intelligence to safeguard human rights and address the threats and risks posed by artificial intelligence. When its adequate legal standards are also essential to enable effective cross-border cooperation between regions and how to overcome asymmetry in the European legal framework for cross-border cooperation. However, not all Council of Europe member states have ratified the Madrid Convention and its additional protocols, which provide a legal basis for cooperation agreements between border regions in Europe. Today, the Madrid Convention has been ratified by 39 of the 46 member states of the Council of Europe and signed by 2 others. It would therefore be welcome if the remaining member states were accede to this convention and the protocol. I would also like to mention the reference framework for regional democracy, which is a non-binding legal instrument, but nevertheless a code of rights, of duties, and of regional entities which promote international interregional cooperation. In addition to common legal standards, cross-border cooperation also requires qualified professionals who can bridge the gap between different national systems. Insufficient knowledge and understanding of the political and administrative systems of the neighboring countries is a common problem in border regions. In this respect, capacity building efforts need to be intensified, including binational and bicultural cross-border training courses. In this way, decentralized cross-border cooperation can be sustainable in the longer term. Also, interinstitutional cooperation serves to strengthen decentralized cross-border cooperation in the face of new challenges. The Strasbourg Declaration, signed 2021 by Association of European Border Regions, EU, and the Central European Services for Cross-Border Initiatives, and the Mission Opérationnelle Transfrontière under the auspices of the Congress, is one example of such cooperation agreements. With this declaration, the 3 signatories have declared the intention to strengthen the cooperation in order to promote the well-being of citizens living in the border regions. So, the work of your organization plays a crucial role in providing a platform for dialogue, but also diplomacy when it comes to developments in the European border region. Highlight that this event is the best example of this, and today we are actively practicing decentralized diplomacy by interacting in a wide range of stakeholders, exchanging ideas and good practices, and seeking solutions to common challenges. So, by actively using and engaging in this format, we all make a vital contribution to sustaining and promoting regional cross-border cooperation. So, take this opportunity also to congratulate the association for the great work that has been done for more than half a century, and also underline that the Congress considered this organization as a valuable partner. So thank you very much for inviting us and being a part of this.
Thank you, Ms. Renin, for your speech, and especially mentioning the Madrid Outline Convention and inviting all the members actually to signing and ratifying, especially the 3rd protocol that will make easier the cross-border cooperation in the border regions. We can open the floor now for the questions. You are invited to write them in the Slido, but we already have some too. What is the strategy of the AEBR in the ongoing debate about the cohesion policy in the EU? Mr. Lamberts, would you like to answer?
Yes, I'm convinced that that is one of the most urgent issues we have to solve at the moment. And it will not be easy. Why? Cohesion policy is one of the most important policies managed by the EU, but it is under pressure. Why? All things are under pressure in the EU. It is the same for agriculture, but also for other issues. And there are new challenges, important new challenges. One of them were mentioned now, defense, enlargement, technology. If you read Letta's or Draghi's report, you have a roadmap. And the consequences of these things is that even if money is not all, nothing works without money. And Draghi is very clear. but the most important reactions were we will not give more money for the European Union. You must know that the costs of the Union are the price of 1 cup of coffee per day per inhabitant. The absolute amount is important, but you must see what it means. And then you can discuss, is it an Italian or a Vienna coffee? That is another thing, or a Norwegian one. But it is clear that we cannot resolve all the problems with the money we have now. And if there is not enough money, everyone is looking for the place where money is. And cohesion policy is under pressure because if there is something to do in Europe, the first reaction of the Commission is, or some people in the Commission, but not, but very important persons, even the most important, is to have a look at cohesion. There is some non-used money, we will bring it to other things. And a second aspect is when prime ministers are together and they discuss, then they are very strong for saying we have to decide. And cohesion policy is something that is not only decided by the national governments, but it is a multi-level aspect of decision-making, and it is a place where regions and local authorities have a very strong position. And so you can have a coalition between national states and some forces in the Commission that bring us to a diminution of cohesion policy means, and that is a great risk, especially when you have a look to what was said by von der Leyen in the perspective of her politics. She wants to reduce the number of programs and to give one amount to each country, and then it is the country who has to decide what happens with it. It's a little simplification, but something like this is mentioned in some papers. And there we must be really attentive, and we must react. It is important to react because cohesion policy is one of the most important aspects of the European Union. It is a kind of DNA of the Union. Cohesion is the European Union, and cohesion must be managed also on the ground by regions and territorial authorities. And for this we have to fight and to bring good arguments, and especially territorial cohesion, where Interreg is a very important part. We have to defend it, and we have good arguments, especially B solutions and all things that was said. The importance of borders is so clear now that you cannot come with a proposal, but we will reduce the financial means we have. So there we have good arguments, but we must be very attentive, and it will not come from alone.
It's a connected questions from the audience, what the members of the AEBR can do to support.
I'm not alone here. The best thing we can do is to have a common strategy. Each border region is a little bit isolated if you have only a look on the local situation. But if our border regions, with this high density I spoke about, of national borders, come together and work together, then it can be powerful. And that is one of the reasons we have the Cohesion Alliance in the field of the Committee of the Regions, and we have to discuss also with other states not member of the EU but associated like Norway or Switzerland, it is very, very important to make a common action, and the borders are a very good example. But we must create pressure. My experience, half a century in politics, is if you don't make pressure, you will never arrive to a result, even if you have the best idea in the world.
And if I,
Yes,
and
please.
if I can add, I agree with Mr. Lamberts, and I think that at the local and regional level, we have to be more work together and make one strong voice in developing with the cohesion policy, because we can see so many good examples when it works and what difference it makes for regions, especially also cross borders. So I think that in the past couple of years, I think also that there are work between different associations to strengthen the local and regional level. And there is another part that I think is very, they don't talk about much, but everybody's talking about that the democracy is backsliding, and people feel that decisions are made too far away from them. And if national politicians or in the European Union would work together closely with local and regional politicians, I think also we're closest to the citizens and closest to the problem, because if there's a flood, people are not going to call the government, they're going to call the closest politicians to solve problems, and the municipality and region is administrating the help that's coming in or whatever and handling it. So if we want to rebuild trust in our system and democracy, there is only one way, and that's to involve and listen to the local and regional level, because the way we are now, authoritarian countries like China and Russia, young people today, when they did an test in Sweden, and how did young people feel about democracy? Did they want one strong leader, or the majority wanted one strong leader? So hey, listen, that's alarm clock. And Sweden is a developed country that had democracy forever. So I think the local and regional level is a clue to regain both the strength in this cooperation, but also for democracy and for the trust in our democratic system. And who's going to defend the borders, and who's going to do the help when we have, if the citizens think that nobody's helping me out, why should I? I'm going to take care of myself. So it's a give and take. Therefore the work that's been done in this should continue and find strong partners, I would say.
Thank you. To continue on that from the both secretaries, I think this is the question addressing to you. How does the NATO membership of Sweden and Finland affect cross-border cooperation with Norway?
You can start.
I can start, and Sigrun can add with all her knowledge to my poor answer. The short answer is it is very important and very good thing. Not only in regard of military cooperation, but also in regard of civil preparedness to build resilience in the public across the border. Because we have a security scale, we have when our nation is not in war, when it is in a war, and it's a very broad scale. And when it's not a war, it is the civil side of the authorities that must ensure security. One of the key words is hybrid warfare. That is a very common term in Europe these days. For instance, digital cyber attacks, instrumentalization of migrants, which our good neighbor Finland recently have experienced from Russia. This is hybrid warfare. It's not war. The military has not the responsibility. It is the civil side. So when also we can have a closer military cooperation, we can also have a closer civil cooperation. And one instance is, for example, our cooperation with the Finnish authorities at the border in north is very good. And we share experience, information about the situation as we see it and as the Finnish government see it. So it is very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a few extra points. We need to continue to build these trustful and long-term commitments and agreements between the border regions, revolving around our communities, our businesses, and our local authorities. Because the core of resilience is the population. And there we have this common interest in strengthening the communities in the border. And in the Norwegian politics, we see a strengthened focus in the East-West topic, for example, in transportation politics. Some new thoughts. Originally, we focused on the north-south corridor, but now we are adjusting the transport politics to also the new NATO memberships. But we have, as I said, a common interest in the population in the border regions, and I think that's the core of the politics.
Yep.
And, if I can add one very good example of what Sigrun is talking about is the new project that the regional Swedish authorities are working on in regard of establish a railway between Sälen and Trysil. That I think is a very interesting thought, and I hope that the authorities in Norway and Sweden are considering it, also in cooperation with the EU funds, which is good for the military transportation and environment and tourists.
Yeah, as well. No, thank you very much. I think we have some more questions, but we are running out of the time. We will slowly transit now to the second panel, which will have more view of how practitioners are seeing the cooperation and security. And we will have just short 5 minutes break for change the panelists. Thank you very much for all the speakers.
I guess so, but it's the people in Germany somewhere ordered it from me, so I'm not sure. But I think it's open. I think it's open for everyone.
Yeah, right now it's open, but I just was wondering if I can also access it afterwards, after the live stream.
I can ask them.
I can also go there and see them. It will be Martina, I guess.
I guess, I don't know.
Okay.
Because I don't know this organization. I'm just here to stream. But hopefully you can see.
Yes, yes.
streamingen ser jo helt strålende ut. Ja, så jævla bra. Jeg tenkte på, nå er det første presentasjonen til Mari. Og han der Emilio, han får ikke vært her, så han har sendt med en videofil som jeg skal spille av når det er hans tur.
Det er over 100 megabyte.
Ja, men jeg har fått fysisk fil. Ja, så jeg spiller bare av... Jeg har flere filer, og det i punktstasjonen våre, dem ligger også videofil i. Men på den første på Svinesund-komiteen, tror jeg det var, der er det 2 videoer. Den første, den ville ha uten lyd, for det er bare 50 sekunder med Men hun ville i hvert fall at den skulle gå uten lyd, den første. Ja da, hvis ikke jeg kutter det hos meg. Ja, bare at ikke du tror det er noe feil. Ja. Hvem var det?
I'm not sure that it's not great. Super cool. Okay, super, because I think my maps are really useful to better download. Okay, for maps it's great. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished members of the AEBR, sehr geehrte Mitglieder der Generalversammlung. It's my honor to moderate this important seminar on security and cooperation issues viewed through the lens of national border regions in the outposts of Europe. Every region faces unique challenges that requires collaborative solutions, and today we will delve into the complexities and opportunities that lay ahead. Security is something that we all think about. And looking at the present situation in Europe with war, with political instability and economical problems that still are not solved, everything is open. What will happen? What will our new society look like when we are on the other side? We have people with us here today that are specialists in their own fields. They work with cross-border relationships, and they all have opinions and ways of looking at security that I think can help us all to come forward in this quest. We cannot be naive when we look at security, but we'll always have to remember that our society is a free, liberal, and democratic society. We can't forget that. But I have the great pleasure now to welcome our panelists to the floor. And first of all, we have Marit Ekholm Jacobsen, Secretary General, Barents Sea Corporation. Welcome, take your seat and find your speaker. Then we have Silvia Pleska, BRCT Vasis, from Romanian-Moldavian border. Welcome. We have Enric Milo, Secretary General for External Affairs, and he is with us here today on a video link. So unfortunately, he couldn't be here, but he has sent us a video link, and we will get his opinions as well. Then we have Kesar Grozavu, BRCT, Sukiava, and he represents the Romanian-Ukrainian border. Welcome. And finally, we have Sandra Dimic from Western Balkan borders. Take your seats and make yourselves comfortable. The panelists are prepared. They have their own presentations, and they will talk about their own experiences. But we have tried to make some kind of framework that will help them, and that we will have a fixed agenda somehow that will help us to have a fixed topic. They will talk about how current challenges affect cooperation in their cross-border regions. They will also talk about how they are adapting to new and changing circumstances. And we also want their specific recommendations on what we have to take in account when we are planning next program periods and how we will get good solutions to our programming. But first of all, I have the pleasure to invite Ms. Jacobsen to take the floor and give her presentation.
Thank you. And how can I switch the slides? Hvordan kan jeg bytte slide? Gjorde den det? Kanskje den er der? Nei. Okay, we're experiencing some technical issues. We have
have a backup. Ja, men jeg har ikke sånn inngang på, den er ikke i min PC, den er i hans PC. Yeah. Great. Okay, so thank you for inviting me. I already had some really good cross-border discussions here with you guys during the dinner last night and also today. So I'm really, really happy to be here and to be able to give a presentation of our cross-border cooperation in the high north of Norway. I have to choose if I see you or if I see what I've written in my script. So I'm sorry if it looks a bit stupid, but I think a lot of people can relate to this. So I will start by just setting the stage and tell you where in the world we are and about our organization. We were established in 1993. And our goal is to support cross-border cooperation. Now it didn't want to work. Why doesn't it want to work? Okay. So we are working with cross-border cooperation support in the High North, and mostly for 30 years we have been working with Norwegian-Russian cooperation. We are also a resource and competence center for cross-border cooperation in our region, and we are really happy to be here with so many other experts on this topic. We are owned by the 3 northernmost counties in Norway, which is Nordland, Troms, and Finnmark. But our funding comes mainly from the government, from the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, as Ms. Prestbakmo was representing earlier, I think. We have, for 30 years until this year, we have been mainly funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as we had Russia as our main partner. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the results after 30 years of cooperation with Russia and where do we go from here. And yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we navigate in the post-24th of February 2022 situation, because it's very much, our timeline is very much before and after February 24th of 2022, when Putin started his aggressive war against Ukraine. It also sent shockwaves through our small communities, both social and economic. So I will show you just to make sure that we are on the same map here. Oh, that was a bit too... So this is the Barents region. It's a bit of a political construct initiated by our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Thorvald Stoltenberg, the father of Jens Stoltenberg, whom we all know. And maybe there is this pointer here. Can I do like this? Okay, but you see here on the top of the map, almost in the sea, there is this area between Murmansk region and Lapland in Finland. This is the municipality that I live in and where our office is. So we have 3 neighboring municipalities. One is in Norway, one is in Finland, and one is in Russia. So very much cross-border region. The background of the Barents region was to exchange the Cold War skepticism and to try and develop normal relations across the borders in the High North with Russia. As you can see, it's 4 countries, Norway, Russia, Finland, and Sweden, about 5 million people, most of them in Russia, and 3 indigenous peoples, whereas one of them live in all of the 4 countries, namely the Sami people, and quite a large area. So I mentioned this Kirkenes Declaration from 1993 is the background of our institution, And as you see here, it was signed in Kirkenes in '93 by all the 4 Barents countries, but also by EU and Denmark and other stakeholders. And as you see, the aim is to replace the confrontation and division of the past. And it feels a bit strange to stand here today and say these things because Putin's war and his regime has absolutely reintroduced the confrontation and division, maybe even worse than from the past. In our glory days, we also had offices in Russia, in Murmansk, Arkhangelsk, and Naryan-Mar. So we had colleagues, Russian colleagues working there also to promote projects with the Norwegian-Russian partners. And I also would like to mention that exactly today and tomorrow we are marking the 80th anniversary of the Red Army liberation of Eastern Finnmark in 1944, which was half a year before the rest of the country was liberated. And that is a very important backdrop for the willingness to cooperate with Russia in our region. The Second World War was really devastating. I think in Kirkenes, most of the houses were bombed, and it was one of the cities that during the Second World War was most bombed in Europe. I think Malta had more days with bombing than Kirkenes. So I often say that the people in Finnmark were grateful to the Russians for 2 things, or the Soviet army, that they came and that they left again. But with there had been a lot of small unorganized cooperations from the 50s between Norway and Russia within sports and culture, for instance. But now with the Kirkenes Declaration, the real work could begin. And we have over the years had like approximately 25 million Norwegian kroners to give to good projects through applications from the partners. Not only was our institution established in '93, but also a Norwegian consulate in Murmansk. It's about 3.5-hour drive from Kirkenes, and a Russian consulate in Kirkenes, which was closed just last week. The Norwegian consulate in Murmansk was closed a year ago, and I can mention also that I started to study Russian back in high school. And I used to work 4 years at the Norwegian consulate in Murmansk as a head of visa section. So I've been working a lot with immigration as well before I started in the Norwegian Barents Secretariat in 2017. In 2012, the local border traffic permit was introduced, which allowed border citizens to travel across the border to their neighboring cities. It's about, from Kirkenes, it's about 50 kilometers to Nikel in Russia, and it's about 50 kilometers to Nätamö in Finland. So it's our close neighborhood. In the first panel today, I also noticed the term intercultural competency, which I think has been developed very much through our projects through the years. I'm forgetting that I have a presentation here also for you to rest your eyes on. And this button is a bit... we have been supporting projects within almost every field of society. And when I started working in the Barents Secretariat, my task was to work with civil society and environmental projects and higher education projects. We have seen a lot of university cooperation with Russia through the years, but also ordinary, like people to people coming together, learning each other's culture, seeing how we do it here and there, and developing intercultural competency. Also, how do I behave when I meet people who don't live exactly like me? We have supported civil society projects like the top photo from the big Barents Pride festival that is going on in Kirkenes, and we are still introducing or inviting Russian partners to that. But for almost all other projects, the Russian aspect is now gone. We have no cooperation with public Russian institutions, but we have a very small opening now to also still have cooperation with independent Russian actors, which also before the war was very difficult because of all of the laws targeting people who were, well, not necessarily even doing politics, but who were actively engaged in something that Mr. Putin did not like. So it has been a struggle throughout the years with more and more laws, making it to a certain extent also difficult and dangerous for the Russian people who could be relevant to be in our projects. When I was preparing for this presentation, I found one of my old manuscripts, a presentation I held in 2020, and this is what I said back in 2020. 30 years ago, people looked at Russia with a strong sense of suspicion. Today, parents in Kirkenes easily send their children off to Zapolyarny in Russia for a weekend to take part in a local ice hockey tournament. Today, Russian parents send their children to Tana in Norway to compete in wrestling with other Barents kids. And these kids are the key to building trust, peace, and stability in the Barents region. So it feels... I've been thinking a lot, does it feel like a wasted time? And I want to say that I think that the idea of cross-border cooperation was really valued on both sides of the border, on all political levels. We supported a lot of cooperation between municipalities, counties, and also the leaders of the governments met in Kirkenes. The last time it was an anniversary for the liberation of East Finnmark, Mr. Lavrov was present in Kirkenes together with His Majesty the King, for instance. So these structures that we have, this center of cooperation, also creates a hub for speaking together on all levels. Yeah, and with this quote from my old speech, over just one night, Russia tore down the cooperation that had been developed for more than 30 years. Suspicion is very much back. It's been a lot in the news that in Kirkenes everyone can be a spy for Russia or for Norway. We had a situation with a guy from Kirkenes who was arrested in Russia and spent 2 years in prison there. And all world media came to Kirkenes to have a look at this spy city. And I must admit that I don't feel this very much in my private life. And having lived in Russia also 5 years, I feel like I should be a target. But yeah, maybe I have other... I don't know, maybe they just don't like me, which is fine. But I think the key aspect of upholding cross-border cooperation is the development of trust between the participants, like we managed through 30 years. And I want to teach you a Norwegian word, which I like very much. And the Norwegian word for trust is tillit. Can you say that? Tillit, very well. And the cool thing about that word, it's a palindrome, so you can read it backwards and it will still be the same. And it shows that tillit, trust, goes both ways. You cannot manage anything without tillit, trust, as the main component. So in some settings, you have to sort of give a little, and then you will, through communication, through getting to know the other participants, you will be able to develop this trust if there is ground for it. And I want to say that through a lot of our projects, we did achieve that in a lot of ways, actually. And today the discussion is mostly about how little we can trust Russians, and I think also that this serves Putin's strategy very well to isolate their population. So were we naive? Maybe. I don't actually think so. I think we had something really good going on, and our goal was never to sort of import democracy to Russia. That is a job they have to do, but we had a lot of good partners who were very much actively involved in that. But it's very difficult in a very hierarchy with a very strong president who has other ambitions than peaceful cooperation with neighbor states. I didn't mention it, but also speaking of this intercultural competency, when this local traffic permit was introduced in 2012, we had a lot of people now. Russia was sort of open to ordinary Norwegians to just go there for a short day trip, because before it was usually very difficult. You got a visa and it was a one-entry visa, but now you got this card valid for 3 years and you could just pop over after work one day. And it was like in the golden days, it was extremely funny. It was like Russian families coming to Kirkenes using the really nice pool we have there, and we traveled to Nikel because it was the closest place we could get a decent sushi. It was very much, and everybody agreed that it was contributing to making those really, really small cities, Kirkenes and Nikel, more interesting places to live. So now when Russia is cut off, Kirkenes, we used to be the hub of the Barents region, and now we're just like the appendix of far north of Europe. Also after the war, it's a very mixed population. We have a lot of people who have Russian background, and it also, of course, does something with the mutual trust in our own local community. Some people claim very much that they are against the war and Putin's regime, and other people are perhaps more silent. It creates this, should I go around and suspect that my neighbor is a pro-Putin person? How do this impacts also our community? Also in the way that, of course, we don't have so many Russians coming shopping, there are jobs lost in the fisheries and other sectors, and so on and so on. And this is just a picture from some activists, Russian activists, who this is just across the entrance to the Russian consulate in Kirkenes. It's a Navalny memorial. And all the demonstrations in Kirkenes against the war in Ukraine has been held outside of the entrance to the Russian consulate. So, yay, new opportunities. I don't have so much time left, I think a couple of minutes, so I will do very little time.
Please go.
So, but yeah, we have now got a new mandate from the ministry, as I mentioned before, and it is much more focused towards the northwestern part of Europe. So now we can also fund projects which does not have any Russian element, but has Sweden, Finland, but also Iceland, the Faroe Islands, Greenland, and to a certain extent Northern America, the Arctic parts of Northern America and Canada. And we have a very also clear mandate that we have to assess every application for support, that it has to somehow strengthen local communities in the High North. So cross-border cooperation to strengthen local communities. Yeah, I think I've been talking too much. I also just want to mention that we have been involved in a lot of EEA grants in other border regions in Europe, among them Slovakia and Ukraine border, and also we are partner in the program now with Bulgaria. And we have been to a lot of conferences in the Carpathian region, so we very much enjoy coming here. I will not go through this, but here is just like some pictures from a lovely trip we had to Slovakia and the Ukrainian border in, I think it was in 2023. Yeah, so I think I've been talking a lot, and I will stop there. Yeah.
You have been talking a lot, and you have been talking good.
Thank you. I can talk for hours.
Thank you. Thank you. We're a little bit over time schedule, so I apologize for that. You can beat me up after the session. But we will continue, and next to take the floor is Silvia Pleska. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Silvia Pleșca. I am coming from Romania, more exactly from Iași. It's in the northeast side of Romania, and particularly our organization works in cross-border cooperation for more than 20 years now. We are covering the entire border with the Republic of Moldova, more exactly the 5 counties from the border side with Moldova in Romania and the entire territory in Moldova. Our field of activity involves more specifically that we are assuring the joint secretariats for the cross-border cooperation programs with Republic of Moldova. Now, in the present time, we are managing the Interreg Next in Romania, Republic of Moldova. But in the previous years, we worked on FARE CBC, ENPI, the program that involved also Ukraine. And after that, the ENI CBC 2014-2020. So, as you all know, the Romania-Moldova border region plays a crucial role in the European security. It is a strategic frontier between the European Union and the Eastern Europe. Security measures here are shaped by several key factors, including border control, cross-border cooperation, and a lot of efforts to combat organized crime and smuggling, because this is really a problem in that area. For today, I would like to point out some particularities regarding border security in our region. So we have firstly the border infrastructure and management. Romania, as an EU member state, applies all the Schengen-related security standards, although we are not still a full member in the Schengen area. This involves still robust control system to monitor the movement of goods and of people, and also in investing in all kinds of modern surveillance technologies. The further cross-border cooperation between Romania and Moldova that have established several initiatives to enhance regional security through cooperative efforts often backed up by the EU. As I started my presentation, we are now managing the Interreg program, but we had a lot of initiatives that focused on the strengthening of the border management, on fostering the law enforcement collaboration, and on sharing intelligence on criminal activities. We have a lot of projects and a lot of large infrastructure projects between the authorities from Romania and the authorities from Republic of Moldova on exactly this particular matter. The cross-border points, which are very crowded, and we invested a lot in this modernization of these cross-border points. In combating the organized crime, due to its geographical position, the border region is a sensitive area for illegal activities, as I said before, including still human trafficking, drug smuggling, and contraband. But the authorities from both the countries, Romania and Republic of Moldova, cooperate to diminish these criminal networks and to ensure that security forces are well trained and equipped to address these threats. This is sad, but still a true matter that we are facing in that regions. So many of our projects focus on these jointly exercises and common strategies to try and combat this organized crime that we are facing in the border region between Romania and Republic of Moldova. Next, the EU and the NATO involvement. Romania's position as an EU and NATO member also brings additional resources and international collaboration to enhance the security of the border. So a lot of joint exercises and programs with a lot of EU agencies like Frontex, which was mentioned before, aim to prevent these external threats from destabilizing the region. So we have a lot of projects also, not through Frontex, but other EU agencies that come in the regions and train the people in this matter of security. And geopolitical sensitiveness, because we are located where we are, and the proximity of Romania with Moldova and Ukraine, especially in the context of the ongoing conflicts, adds complexity to the security landscape of the region. Romania has reinforced its border controls all the time was prepared for potential refugees, and we had refugees during the beginning of the war, and heightened the vigilance to protect against any spillover effects from the regional instability. These efforts collectively aim to ensure the stability, to foster the cooperation, and protect the external borders of the European Union, and contributing to broader regional security. This is what I've noted, what I've marked today, these points for the presentation. But what I want to say is that I'm working for like 11 years now in cross-border cooperation, and what I'm seeing in the present time is that the level of trust between our two countries is high. The projects are alive, and the results impact the citizens' lives in a good way, especially, and this is translated in the numbers of project proposals that we receive. For example, this year we received a number of 277 project proposals for the Interreg Next program. So the competition is really high. The needs are, we cannot tackle all of the needs, but we are still trying through the measures that our programs are preparing. Also, for the enforcement of the cohesion policy, our program will launch another call of proposals, which will focus mainly on the Interreg specific objective 1, which means a better governance. So we will have only projects that will involve jointly exercise experiences and improvement of the governments in both countries. So thank you. I did not bring a PowerPoint presentation, but hopefully you will receive me next year, and I will bring some nice pictures from our border area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Silvia. It was an interesting presentation. We will continue, and next to hit the floor is our video presentation, and it's a video presentation from Enrico Milo. He is the Secretary General for External Affairs in the Regional Government of Andalusia. And if the technician can start the technique, so will we see the look at the video.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to greet all the participants of this AEBR General Assembly and the organizers who have found a wonderful place in Norway, Trysil, which unfortunately for scheduled reasons I cannot be today with all of you. Let me also say hello to my colleagues in this session on cooperation and security in practice. It would have been a pleasure to be able to join you and to share with you the interesting debate that is playing on issues that affect in the border regions of Europe. These are issues that AEBR always selects with good skills. But on behalf of Andalusia and its President, I thank you for your work very much. Also, on behalf of the President of the Andalusian Regional Government, I would like to inform you that on 4th and 5th November, I will be representing AEBR at the 15th General Assembly of ARLEM, Euro-Mediterranean Region and Local Assembly, to be held in Amman, Jordan, where we will have the opportunity to discuss and share views of very relevant issues in the Mediterranean area. The President of the European Community of the Regions, Mr. Vasco Alves Cordeiro, will be present at the next General Assembly in Amman. We will analyze the territorial perspectives for the Euro-Mediterranean strategic agenda in the current geopolitical context that presents so many uncertain threats but also challenges with the situation on the Middle East. And we will do so in the presence of two important personalities, the Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean and the European Union's Special Envoy for the Mediterranean also. We will continue to discuss two draft reports on the transition to sustainable energy in the Mediterranean and on intercultural dialogue, with a special mention of the Mediterranean capitals of culture and dialogue. Let me just mention in connection with this that, as you may know, for Andalusia, relations between European regions and our North African neighbors are of vital importance. In this sense, we work intensively for understanding and dialogue with the three cultures of the Mediterranean Foundation. Andalusia also implement relevant initiatives such as the Mediterranean Awards, the second edition of which will take place in 2025 with the participation of more than 30 countries, and you all are invited. Finally, water and water resilience in the Mediterranean will be the closing subject of the thematic sessions in the General Assembly of Ireland. This is an issue of particular importance for the Mediterranean regions and tackle the climate change. Returning to the Association of European Border Regions, we have many issues to work on, and we must go hand in hand at a time when we have to face big challenges. One of them is definitely migration, a daily reality in the European Union which we must face by combining solidarity and responsibility. We are all border regions. All are border regions, but some of us are also external border regions of the European Union. For this reason, we need a specific status to enable us to meet the challenges we face. That is why we have proposed in the Committee of the Regions the recognition of such external border regions. The basis for this recognition is the impact of migration follows and measures to implement freedom, security and justice policies, and the specific needs of these regions in the corresponding financial instruments. In recent statements, the President of Andalusia, Juanma Moreno, has called to the Spanish government and the European authorities to hold a debate leaving populism apart in order to organize migration rationally. We must work with common sense to put order in a situation that is difficult to address with the current resources of municipalities and regions without radical positions, and by being thought of the masses that traffic in people, something that can only be achieved with the help of the European Union. Dear colleagues, we will continue to work on these and other issues that concern us, and I wish you a productive conference. I look forward to seeing you at the next General Assembly, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much from Andalusia. I felt a little bit like it could be a relative of Martin. We will continue, and next to hit the floor we have Mr. Cesar Grozavo from BRCT Suceava. You are welcome to take the floor.
Thank you. Hello everybody, it's a real pleasure to be today present here in such a northern peaceful place. Indeed, we saw different borders and border situation, and we must admit that the situation nowadays in North is not at all like it in the southeast of Europe, where we are working it. As my colleague Silvia mentioned, we are in charge of implementing European cross-border project between Romania and Ukraine. As a matter of fact, the longest external border of EU with Ukraine is the Romanian-Ukrainian border, more than 60 kilometers, and imagine that till the war starts were open only 3 cross-border points. That tells much in terms of connectivity, even more in terms of bilateral exchanges, in terms of trust, in terms of different intervention between our countries. Why? Because of the second border and the history. Nowadays, in contradiction with the northern situation, like I saw in Nordic states like Norway or Finland, in the south, in the southeast, we are facing a new situation, and it's a paradox of the history that we are facing a new challenge, and that means trust, that means cooperation, and the war proved or offered us the chance to show the solidarity in terms of EU values. Our border face many challenges, like like the entire European society. Imagine, yes, how to manage a bilateral project when the COVID starts. But imagine we successfully digitalize both sides of the countries and all our partners. After that, the war. We were in Odessa a few weeks before the war starts. And after that, we are thinking what happens if we're going to have a Russian border, which can generate the closure of the entire program, what our Finnish partners, unfortunately, have to do with their offices. So each challenge, we took it as it is and generate added value. As my colleague Silvia from Moldova border, we have the same priorities, but indeed it's more difficult due to the geographical and not sufficient financial resources. Even so, in latest period, we opened new two border cross points, and imagine that in the Carpathians also as a solidarity symbol was only in Maramureș County, a bridge, wooden bridge, yeah, that was only connectivity between Romania and Ukraine in Maramureș County. Nowadays, a new European-founded bridge is built, and we hope next year to be open. I must want to say hello to Maramureș representative or Ukrainian representative, who are one of our best beneficiary of EU funds, and they successfully show that despite of the condition, they get results. What else? We show solidarity. Imagine that Poland and Romania receive the biggest number of refugees, more than 2 million across Romania, more than 80,000 stay in Romania, but we still assist them. We are more open to implement nowadays a new call of proposal under the next priorities, and we hope the borders will be more and more open and to have new events, good news instead of bad news. Thank you for inviting me, and all the best.
Thank you very much. And now for our final panelist, Sandra Simic. The floor is yours.
Sit or go. Okay.
Please.
Don't have problem with visibility. I was playing basketball. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I come from Serbia. We are managing authority for 3 programs between Western Balkan countries. It's Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, and Serbia, North Macedonia. Also, we are participating in 9 Interreg programs, cross-border cooperation with Croatia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria, transnational programs for Danube and Adriatic Ionian regions. And from this financial perspective, we are very happy that we are also, no we don't, and we are also participating from this financial perspective in the programs of Interreg Europe and URBACT. In ESPON, Western Balkans are just observers at the moment, so we hope that soon we will also be participating. It's a privilege to speak after everybody, because I can pick up the best from everybody that have said. And thank you very much, Marit, for the word Tilit. I will remember it. It's so beautiful and so illustrative. I'm working within the Cooperation Forever, Western Balkans. Started with Interreg programs from 2003 from Thessaloniki Summit, where European Union have confirmed perspective of Western Balkan countries as candidate countries for European Union. And the programs back then, we had programs with Romania. Also, we have BRCT, it is in Timișoara. Our joint secretariat. Back then, it was FARE cards program. It was 2003, 2004. It was a difficult thing to implement because it was unnatural, 2 different programs. It was not one instrument. But then we started with the instrument for pre-accession assistance. And now we are living the 3rd generation of instrument for pre-accession assistance. And it is really a lot to think about and a lot to learn. What I always like to remember was the word of one beneficiary of program Bulgaria, Serbia, from 2004-5. We had one focus group, and he said he was living in the border area, and he said that Interreg programs before he was participating in Interreg programs, EU accession and EU was something that he did not understand. It was too far away, too political, too abstract. He didn't understand what it is all about. When he started to implement a project within an Interreg program, then he realized how beautiful, how tangible it is. He understood the values, and he really took them as his own, and he really took them as his mission, in the future to promote and to implement. So practically, our border areas have a bigger touch, bigger contact with what EU is really than our central areas because of Interreg programs. So Interreg programs are the best way to promote EU values and EU integrations. And actually, I was speaking in Interreg annual event in Vienna a couple of months ago, and somebody asked the question. They thought that it would be provocative, and they said, how we think in Interreg, we are cooperating, and how we are coping with this. If we are so good, how there is a lot of radicalism and nationalism all around the world, and right-wing parties, etc., etc. It's something that we don't have in Interreg. It's something that we don't have here, and whoever starts to do Interreg and starts to do the cooperation, even if he does have that virus, he gets cured very, very easily. It doesn't exist. And when my son was very, very small, I cooked asparagus. It was his first time, and he said, "I'm not eating that." I said, "Why?" And he said, "I have never eaten that." And I said, "So, you try, and then say if you like it or not." It's like I hate, I don't know, Norwegian people. Have you met some? Have you met one ever? No. So the best way actually to fight prejudices and to fight every negative type of borders in people's minds is actually through cooperation and through putting people in contact with other people. Mr. Lambert said one wonderful thing is that the worst type of insecurity is the insecurity that people have in their own minds. And you can only overcome that through the cooperation. And I would just regarding security, we in the Western Balkans are on the outside border of the EU, but actually we are all surrounded by EU countries, EU member states. So it's a totally different situation than in a case of colleagues from Romania that are working on the borders with Moldova and Ukraine. However, we have a lot of projects that are increasing permeability of the borders. We open new border crossings with Hungary, also with Romania. We are financing a lot of cooperation projects between ministries of the interior to fight together against natural disasters, for example, because these are our main problems. Just one more thing to tackle that really provoked me from the previous discussion: cohesion policy. Interreg programs are the best ways. Through Interreg programs, the citizens and institutions who were in the Western Balkans implementing projects learned more about cohesion policy and EU values than the ones who were implementing pure IPA, and let alone national funds or budgets or something like that. This capacity that was built throughout the years is really a jewel within all our countries, and that is something that will bring us all together and all in the one, let's say, direction. The programs between non-member states, between Western Balkan countries, are not Interreg programs. Allocation for program, for example, Serbia-Montenegro is 8 million euros, and allocation of 7 years, 8 million euros. And allocation between Romania and Serbia is 74 million euros. So programs that alone creates a lot of, you can imagine, why the citizen of border region with Bosnia or the border region of Bosnia with Serbia is I don't know, less worthy of assistance or help, or, it creates a lot of imbalance, but also it creates an imbalance in capacities, because programs that we implement between non-member states are not cohesion policy. They are far away from cohesion policy. So I would like to ask you all who are politicians and who have an influence, in the future, to fight really for Interreg programs, to fight that Interreg programs and programs that will be implemented in non-member states look more like cohesion policy, because actually this is the way to promote EU values. That's the best way, actually, and to fight for also bigger allocation and more similarity for the programs between Western Balkan countries that are now far away from what they should be and from what you all are implementing. So thank you again for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share our experience, and I would like to congratulate on the General Assembly and this this wonderful event that I have seen. So thank you.
Thank you. And this sums up the individual speeches of our panelists, and we will now move further to a general discussion. So I ask that you open up the computer screen again, and people can place their questions. And I am quite sure that we have questions in this assembly. What my first reflection that I actually put together listening to all of you is that the border regions, they are more dramatic now than for a long time. Looking back in history, we weren't thinking about things like this, but you're really fighting on the front lines of European democracy and European values. And I think it's very important to remember that it's not only the border regions that has this responsibility, it's the national states and the EU have to take responsibility to make sure that the border regions actually can develop resilience and to do their job to keep our borders safe and peaceful. We all are winners in that game. But now we have some really interesting questions here. And I would perhaps start with the first one from the top. From your perspective, what is the most important aspect of cross-border cooperation and security that should be prioritized? And perhaps Kesar would like to, you had great input from your experiences. What should be first in our priorities?
From our point of view, I said for Ukraine and the Republic of Moldova, it's very important that they open the chapter of negotiation to European Union. So that means they have a path, they have a direction, and they nowadays put their priorities into EU agenda. So that means a long process of integration. We know, like Romania, like Eastern country, how long it means. Serbia, it's another study case, very interesting, but it's a different topic. So for sure, we increase cooperation mainly in terms of connectivity, in terms of food security, because of the bottlenecks into the Odessa and the south part of the Europe due to the war in the Black Sea.
Sylvia, how would you open up the same kind of question? Would you follow Cesar's thoughts, or do you have other?
I was thinking now that Cesar was speaking about this program. I participated like 2 months ago in Romania at an event that involved not particularly the type of organizations with whom I work with. So we work with public organizations. They were from the private sector. And they were a lot of transporters that are crossing the border points between Romania and Moldova, and they have huge problems now because they are very crowded, also with the Ukrainian traders. So I think it's very important to invest in these crossing points, in these land crossing points that we have between our countries, and in order to ensure the security of the Czechs to do there and to involve in specialized equipment and to try and to modernize these crossing points in order to reduce the time spent there, because there were people that were staying there for like over a week. So imagine what this does to the economy and to the businesses that the stakeholders have in the region. So maybe this is what I was thinking exactly at this particular moment.
Thank you, very interesting. Then we have a direct question to Sanda on the topic of Interreg as a cure. How do we involve the people really in need of the cure? People involved are often the people who don't need a cure.
Well, first of all, I disagree. Actually, also, you know, what you see is a cured people, you know, and then you think that people did not need the cure, but you haven't met them before, before the cure was, before the medicine was given to them. But I understand this question as how we reach a bigger number of people in the border areas. And this is only by relaxing procedures, which I expect, you know, even in this financial perspective, the procedures are more relaxed. You have to know that that people are implementing projects in English language. How many people do speak English language in remote border areas, you know, of Romania, of Bulgaria and Serbia, and let alone of Croatia and Serbia, which have the same language practically, and they have to implement projects in English. So by adapting the procedures and putting them on more realistic level, I think that our programs reach even more people or bigger number of population in the border area.
English is very much the lingua franca of today, but in the border regions you actually have different kinds of communication with each other.
Exactly.
Here is a very simple question that I will pass on to Marit. What would be the worst scenario for border regions?
I'm not sure, but I think perhaps the worst scenario. I think now, when we worked with Russia, it was a quite different story, because it was one of the borders in Europe with biggest socio-economic differences on each side, and even some of your rights as a human being were extremely different. If you were, for instance, a gay person and crossing the border from Norway to Russia, your right as a human being would be completely different. And now this border is more or less, it's sort of a wall there. It's like we don't work so much with them anymore. And for us now, the border regions we are working with is northern Finland and northern Sweden. And as more people have mentioned also, they have become members of NATO. And I have the impression that they're all very, very eager to and have already started with engaging together in the NATO work. I think the worst scenario for us would be that the border to Finland also would close. Then we would definitely just be an appendix in nowhere in the top. But I have very positive and optimistic views on the future cooperation in our new grant scheme as well, and in the region without Russia. So I want to be positive, and at the moment I cannot see any worse scenarios than the one that we already are living in with Russia as an aggressor state.
Well, you opened up a little bit around security politics and NATO, so I think it's quite natural that you continue with the next question about Svalbard and Norway's position post the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And Svalbard it's a really hot spot, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe our friend from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would be more relevant to answer this. But I think Norway's position on Svalbard is quite clear, and there are some provocative measures from the Russian sides. But I think like the agreement that about Svalbard, I think they are clear enough. But the Russians are always trying to push a bit further to maybe get a reaction or make us do something stupid. So I think it's really important also to keep a clear head and try to think pragmatically, because we know the way they are working, and I think it's important to just try and foresee the possible reactions that might come from that side. But I think Svalbard is very clear by the Norwegian government and has been.
Silvia opened up a bit around drug trade, trafficking, and criminality like that. And we have a question here about how to combine open borders and still maintain law enforcement. Are these things that you are thinking about in your region?
At least from the point of view of the cooperation programs between the two countries, we are still working on this matter. So a lot of organizations from Romania and public authorities from Romania and both the Republic of Moldova are investing in this jointly and common exercises and equipment and guides and everything in order to educate the population and to maintain the level of trust in these authorities. So it's an ongoing matter and situation. But as I previously said, we are trying through the priorities that we are developing in the region to try to enhance more and more people in this matter in order to maintain the law enforcement, but still to have these open borders, which is still not possible between Romania and Republic of Moldova. We have the border there, but at least we are investing a lot in these common and jointly exercises. And for example, us as Romanian citizens, we can pass through Republic of Moldova only with the ID, and we are not using the passport no more. So this was like happening since, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years now. So this is a step forward for the cooperation.
We have challenging times indeed, and I will turn now to Sanda with the next question. How do you think that we can enhance international cooperation in challenging times? And I think these both questions are quite nearly related.
Well, yes. I mean, exactly these kinds of instruments, as interim programs, are the ones that will enhance international cooperation, because people through transnational programs are not only cooperating with neighbor, just across the border. It is more challenging to have a joint project with somebody that is far away from I don't know, Germany, that is not in direct border. And in respect to that, really, you create a kind of critical mass of people that will influence politicians and make the times less challenging, let's say. That's the only thing we can do. Actually, we cannot influence the higher politics. The things are moving, and we just can hope, that when European Union was created, it was created after the world wars, and with the basic goal not to have wars anymore. But as we can see, wars are happening, and we just have to work harder to preserve the peace that we have right now, within European Union at least.
Marit has asked for the word. Go ahead.
Yeah, could I just add to this question? Because I think it's also important that we find something to cooperate about, that we don't have international cooperation just because it's nice to meet and have some drinks, but that we actually have something in common in the project. And I just wanted to mention a project we were just invited to participate in, which is a Polish region, which is really far from us, but they wanted to gather all of the border regions that have a border with Russia. So from Poland and all through the Baltic states and Finland and also our region. And they gave us this presentation about how the war had infected their region, being close to Kaliningrad, or neighboring to Kaliningrad. And when they gave this presentation, I saw that we could actually just switch the name of that region with our own region, because the challenges are exactly the same. So we can meet, we can find good practices, find out how they are doing it, can we implement what they are doing, and we can also have some more unity. And when we give maybe recommendations to governments or other parties, we will stand together and have a common approach to it. So I think it's really important to find some topics, and also has been mentioned earlier today, some values. Why are we cooperating together? What is the purpose, and what do we want to achieve?
I feel that the last question here is very organizational. How can we develop our work in AEBR by strengthening our organization with more members? And perhaps I think this is questions actually that Martin or someone else perhaps very well could answer, but I will give the question to Cesar and see if, do you have any thoughts about this? More members in the AEBR, how could we be stronger? How could we do more? How could we be better?
From my perspective, common goal raise a number of interested people. So that topics, as already mentioned, that a region from Poland asked your partnership. It's an example how we can put together different interests under such generous umbrella as this organization it is, and can provide this open space of sharing experience, sharing best practice, sharing worst scenario. Why not? Also, it's a matter of offering solution, and why not psychological support in border region, because from time to time look how risky some borders can become. So common goals with and the proper presentation and marketing. Let's be honest, we need to adequate information measuring in order to increase the number.
And Marit, do you have faith?
I refuse to lose my faith in people as people. I think when people come together, great things happen. I believe that also of a lot of the Russian people. I know they have been living through, we often talk about Putin, but we have to remember, I tend to think of him as just like the prolonged Soviet Union. They've been living under harsh leadership they had a small break maybe in the 90s, early 2000s, but they have for 100 years been living under really hard leadership. And then, of course, you get the world that when you vote for the leaders and so on. But I mean, I live in a small town with about 10% of people who live there have Russian background, either parents or themselves are first generation. And I cannot walk the street in my own city and feel that every person is suspicious. I have to, like you said, talk to them, meet them, find out who are they, what are their values. If their values and mine are compatible, then we can be great friends, even if they are Russian or Polish or Pakistani or whatever. I don't care. So no, I refuse to lose faith, and there will come a day when Putin dies. I don't think anything will happen before he actually dies, but there will come a day, and we have to think about how can we try and help those Russians who wanted to integrate their country in world cooperation and not in aggression and instability. So yeah, I cannot say anything that I refuse to lose faith in humankind.
The time is up. I'm sure that you can grab the panelists here afterwards and have discussions with them. I'm sure that you're all to our disposal. And we will end it here. And I hope that you have enjoyed this as much as I have, and that nobody feels that we have been on a wrong track. We have talked about very important questions here this afternoon. But this is the end of this session, and now I hope that you can enjoy a cup of coffee on the outside of the door, and then we will have an official opening ceremony of the annual conference, and I hope that you all can join us then. So please, thank you.
Somebody complimenting on the quality of the stream and also on the kind of everything. So this is really good. Yesterday we just made with my computer and a Zoom to YouTube stream from the conference room we were having. It captured the no comparison in any way, of course. But yeah. care of Norway.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear members and friends, welcome to the institutional opening of the annual conference of the AEBR 2024, Building Security and Resilience in European Border Regions. To begin with the opening session, it's my pleasure to invite Trudy Bakken-Wicken, Mayor of Trysil Municipality, to deliver her speech, please.
Like this?
It's on.
It's on.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yeah. Dear President, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear all of you. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to Trysil. And we are so honored to host this important conference about development, security, and resilience in European border regions. This is a topic that resonates strongly with our community. And I hope you had an interesting conference so far. You are now in Trysil, which is Norway's largest ski destination, and a place deeply rooted in nature and tradition. In Trysil, we believe that sustainable growth is key to securing the future for both our region and Europe as a whole. Over the years, we have worked hard to balance economic development with the preservation of our natural surroundings and our unique culture. We see great opportunities in tourism, green innovation, and strengthening our local industries. We have over 50 years of experience in developing commercial, sustainable tourism, and we were one of the first destinations in Europe to receive the certification as a sustainable destination. I am also having the honor of giving a speech tomorrow, and then I will tell you more about our history, experiences, and possibilities of further development and growth. I will also tell you about different collaborations that we participate in here in Trysil, and one of them is SITE, which is 4 municipalities in Norway and Sweden working together with common challenges. We'll tell more about that tomorrow. This gathering brings together diverse expertise, and I'm sure that our discussions and collaborations will inspire new solutions for regional development that can benefit all of us. I also hope that you take the time to experience the beauty and hospitality of Trysil while you are here. And I will take the chance to show you some appetizers from our municipality. So I brought a little film that I want to show you, just a short one. Thank you, and once again, welcome to Trysil.
Thank you very much. The next speech will be delivered by Daniel Schutzer, Chair of Committee of the Healthcare Region, Valmont. Please take the floor.
Dear President, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to welcome you all to the region of Värmland and to Fylke Innlandet. For those of you who didn't go to the cross-border school yesterday, I'm telling you, you missed something. It was really, really good. And if you have the chance next year, you should really do it. It was great. For those of you who were there, you met my colleague Erik, and He introduced himself by saying that he's working with regional development and saying he had all the fun things. He might be right about that, but what he forgot to mention is that since I'm the president of the healthcare committee, I have all the money. I've been thinking, what should I say that doesn't sound like all the others here? And, you know, before I took over the healthcare questions in the region, I was mayor in a small municipality right at the border to Norway. Meaning I was mayor during the pandemic and during the refugee crisis. But you already know all about that because you have similar experiences. So I thought I'd share just a short story with you instead. This is the story about Harry and his team of rowers. You know rowing, the competition. The UK is known to be really, really good at it. And they compete individually, in pairs, 4 and 8. And the big thing, that's when 8 people in the same boat are competing, because they go so fast. They even go so fast that you can go water skiing behind the boat. But what happened, even though the UK had the best rowers in the world, they didn't compete in that game. So for over 80 years, they didn't take one medal until Harry came into the picture. And what did he do? Well, of course, they trained hard, but he asked them one question. He said, in whatever you do, ask yourself this one question. Will it make the boat go faster? So when they were at the gym, should they do 8 or 10 repeats? Well, they did 10 because it would make the boat go faster. When they were supposed to have lunch, should they go to McDonald's or should they have something good to eat? They skipped McDonald's. When they went to the bar, should they drink beer or water? Well, what made the boat go faster? That was the question. And in the Olympics, they won the gold medal. So it worked. And I think it's time that we also start asking, what is our question? And I think the question we should ask ourselves is this building a stronger, more sustainable, and more resilient Europe? If we ask that, I think we're going to take so many good decisions. Is cross-border cooperation building a stronger Europe? Yes. Is involving local communities building a better Europe? Yes. Is supporting the Ukraine building a stronger, more sustainable, and more resilient Europe? Yes. Is slaughtering the cohesion policy building a stronger, better, and more resilient Europe? No, not at all. It helps us take good decisions. So that's what I'm giving you. Think about Harry, the one question. That makes us much better leaders and much better decision makers. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Anne Alstrup Vello, Deputy Mayor of Innlandet.
Can you hear me? Well, dear President Karl-Heinz Lamberts, dear ladies, dear gentlemen, a special greeting and welcome to our friends from Ukraine. Welcome to Norway, the Innlandet County, and to Trysil. It is a great pleasure for Innlandet County Council, together with our good friends across the border in Sweden, to host the General Assembly and the Annual Conference of AEBR in 2024. The fact that this annual conference is located in this border region of Trysil and Sälen is a consequence of a long-standing AEBR tradition of showcasing different border regions across Europe.
We want to show what it is what it's like to live, work, and be able to commute across national borders, and that we can utilize the collective expertise within border regions and connect the cities, towns, to solve challenges that are simply too big for each of us, one by one. Therefore, the AEBR B-Solution initiative is very important to support growth and cohesion in the EU's border regions. The AEBR B-Solutions brings up a series of issues. How can the border regions cooperate on important service functions? How can clusters and networks for small and medium-sized businesses be established in the border region? And how can universities and research communities collaborate across national borders? For the Nordic countries, ever closer cooperation was shaped by the establishment of the Nordic Council in 1952. In the same spirit, a groundbreaking security alliance was established with the NATO by 1949. Furthermore, the Schuman Declaration of May 9th, 1950, which predates today's EU, in essence promoted two fundamental principles: peace and solidarity. The Nordic cooperation early made visible the need to facilitate cross-border cooperation by establishing border committees. One of the first of them between Innlandet and Värmland in 1967. Later, by the mid-90s, the EU Interreg programs became, and still is, a key policy instrument to promote sustainable growth and cohesion in the Nordic border areas. The European principles of peace and solidarity came again on the forefront when the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to the EU in 2012 for promoting peace, reconciliation, democracy, and human rights in Europe. In light of the present situation, the Nobel Peace Prize in 2022 was awarded to an Ukrainian human rights organization, the Center for Civil Rights, led by the human rights lawyer Alexandra Mavlychuk. That was not easy to say, just as my last name. Her center documents war, crimes, and conveys knowledge about democracy and human rights, and must have our full support. We live in a demanding time, a tough time, with a war of aggression in Ukraine initiated by President Putin and his regime, in violation of international law and in an inhuman war also targeting civilians and civil infrastructure. It is therefore natural that that at this annual conference we raise the topic of security and cooperation in European regions and border regions. We see that conventional warfare is combined with more hybrid warfare, where agents of influence, through the use of digital surfaces and disinformation, attempt to break European cohesion and cooperation. Security and cooperation are about much more than just the military items. Crisis preparedness, cooperation between all levels of government, and not the least safeguarding our democratic values. In the introduction to this year's conference, the discussion about future cohesion policy for the period of 2028 till 2034 was raised. The cohesion policy in the very core of European cooperation. Here, the AEBR is a vital player when it comes to influencing future policy. And please allow me to credit our president, Mr. Karl-Heinz
Lamberts for his significant and relentless efforts to put forward arguments in the European Parliament, the Commission and the Regional Committee about strengthening cross-border cooperation. Thank you, Karl-Heinz. Dear friends, peace and solidarity goes and must go hand in hand. In Europe, no security without cooperation. I once again wish you all a warm welcome and look forward to good discussions in the coming days here in Trysil. Welcome.
Our next speaker is Ms. Jelena Drenjanin, Chair of the Governance Committee, Congress of Local and Regional Authorities. Please.
Thank you. Well, dear AEBR President, members of the Association of European Border Regions and participants. I would like to start to thank you for inviting the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities, and especially President Mr. Karl-Heinz Lamberts, but also the Secretary General, Mr. Martin Guillermo Ramirez, for the kind invitation to address this year's annual conference on the behalf of the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities. The Congress is celebrating 30 anniversaries as well as 75 years of the Council of Europe and 10 years of rejuvenating politics initiative of the Congress. And that strongly supports involvement in youth in public life and work of the Congress. The Congress always supported strong decentralized cross-border cooperation, and the history of our content teaches us that unified and democratic way is the only way to be successful when national frontiers become permeable. And only in this way, space can be created for mutual understanding, cooperation, but also solidarity. The long-standing relations and excellent cooperation between the Congress and AEBR, this was also actively encouraged by the former Congress Vice President and current AEBR President, Mr. Karl-Heinz Lambert, who will finish this mandate. And I would like to highlight the outstanding work of Mr. Karl-Heinz Lambert in this field of the promotion of local democracy and transfrontier cooperation. With his great commitment and passion, he made a lasting impact on the cross-border cooperation in Europe and made a major contribution to the work of the Congress in this area. He has been leading as a rapporteur of many landmark reports, and including reports on regional identities, fair distribution of taxes in transfrontier areas, that was in 19, autonomy and borders in 16, and transfrontier of cooperation in Europe 2009. That's just a few of them. And in recent years, border regions have experienced, as has been mentioned here today, a complex challenges, and it's posed both man-made but also natural disasters. The Russian war of aggression against Ukraine has been mentioned so many times again. Has to be mentioned again because it's the gravest threat to European security. It has broken an entire security architecture built through cooperation, including inter-regional cooperation over many decades. But it has also caused a massive human loss of life, injuries, and suffering. Unprecedented destructions of infrastructure, sometimes of entire cities and villages, a displacement of millions within the country and across Europe and beyond. But this war has also triggered in responses a remarkable way of solidarity and support to Ukraine, notably at all the levels of European regions. COVID-19 crisis shown how devastating a global health threat can hit us. and our social and economic cross-border systems, and that has also been mentioned here today. In this context, we saw how border crossings were suddenly rebuilt, but reconstruction of national border does not make Europe a safer place, and is not a viable long-term response. Instead, leading on coordinated and cooperative responses have proved to be instrumental. So, with continued environmental degradation, biodiversity loss and climate change, we have seen more frequent occurrence of hazards such as droughts, wildfires and floods. Growing consumption and continued urbanization aggravate resources scarcity. With accelerated technology change and hyperconnectivity, we have become more vulnerable in front of cyber attacks and systematic disinformation efforts. To face the current and emerging challenges, regardless of whether they are environmental, sanitary, or man-made, we need a strong multi-level governance approach. This compromises, besides the engagement of all tiers of government, also horizontal cross-border cooperation. Security cannot be achieved without cooperation, and border regions play a prominent role in this. And therefore, as many said, we need to improve it and strengthen it. In these turbulent times, with growing sense of insecurity, there is always a temptation to resort to populist measures. However, a democratic backsliding weakens us. We are stronger and more resilient if we cooperate and respect values of human rights, democracy, and rule of law. So we need to strengthen our commitment and action for human rights, as was pointed out at the 4th Reykjavik Summit of Heads of State and Government on the Council of Europe. And I would repeat again, each of us in this room can do something to improve this work. So I want to thank you all for your attention and wish everyone a good annual assembly. And we have through it, I know, but due to changes, we had this initially talk now. Thank you.
Thank you. And at the end, we will have the president of the AEBR, Karl Lamberts, to deliver the opening speech. Please.
Dear members, dear friends of AEBR, it's not the last speaker, but also my last speech as president of the AEBR, and you can be sure it will not be a testament. First of all, I want to express our thanks for the hosts of this General Assembly and the summer school and the Congress we have today. Dear representatives from Trysil, Innlandet and Värmland, it was a splendid organization tot now, and I'm sure it will continue. And if we make the opening in the middle of the event, then we can be even surer that it will be a success. It is a wonderful place, and also a very professional organization. Thank you for that, and I will also repeat my personal thanks to Björn Terje Andersen, who invited us to this event. It was a little surprise, as you said it, in the end of one of our executive bureau meetings, and I'm sure it was a wonderful gift for each of us. I want also to thank Jelena for the speech and the nice words, but first of all for the long and deep cooperation that exists between the Congress and AEBR. Cross-border cooperation was always a very important issue in Strasbourg. And it is even more diverse there than in the European Union, in Brussels, because the border situations in the states who are not members of the European Union are more challenging, more complicated, and sometimes even more important. So I hope that we can continue this cooperation in the future, and I am sure that we have to do much things together in the next years. Dear colleagues, our annual meeting takes place on a very important moment. The world is changing. We have many problems that we even not imagined 10 or 20 years ago. And all these problems have much to do with security in a larger sense. And also with resilience, because if you have not enough security, you can only change it with more resilience. And this lack of security concerns peace, a very new element in the recent European history. It also concerns climate, digitalization with new forms of risks and even war. Also demographic change. It is a big issue if we go in details, not only for China, for every state also in our regions. And security has also to do something with the social situation of people. People who cannot live correctly have a deep situation of insecurity. But all these objective facts are not the most important aspect of security. The most aspect of security is an aspect of feeling. Reality is important, facts are very important, but the most dangerous aspect also for democracy and for human rights and for all things we are struggling for is this feeling of peoples who are insecure. And that is a great boulevard for populists and all people who want to destroy our democracy. And the border situation, who are very important in Europe because we have the highest density of borders in the world. The borders are concerned in a real special way because security is always linked to different sorts of borders. On the territory, in the head of the people, and in many other aspects. And these borders have a big function, and we can only solve the problems if we are able to go ahead, to make cooperation possible, and to avoid isolation and even conflicts. This work is a very special work, and all the people who are here and who are part of the family of the transborder organizations in Europe know it very well. It is a real complicated activity, and it is an activity that is based on patience, but also on force and strong engagement, and it is for all something that must be done each day on another way, and you will never finish. You must be able to avoid the obstacles and to bring people who are living in the borders together, to make them partners, friends, and that is not always very easy, because the most important aspect of this is trust. And there is nothing that can disappear so big as trust if you have something that doesn't work in a relation. You need a long time to construct trust, but you can lose it in a second. So we have an important work to do, and all the issues we discuss now during our annual meeting here can contribute. They can contribute to solutions, but they can also give us inspiration. If you are working in your border region, you are often alone, and you have the impression that you are so far from your capital that people there are not really interested in what happens in your situation. But if you are together, and if you realize that you are so strong, if you are together, then you can find a way to make progress, and you can certainly also learn very much from each other. And we can certainly learn very good things from the experience in the Nordic states. The Nordic transborder cooperation is an old one, a famous one, but it is not so good known in other places in Europe. So we have to exchange and to learn from each other, and it make us certainly stronger and better prepared to the challenges we have to resolve in the next years. So I thank you for your participation. I thank you for the 12 years we had the opportunity to work together, and where I had to make what must be done for the respect of the timing in meetings where everyone goes out of the time. It was possible, I think, even today. At a certain moment, we had 1 hour of delay, and in the end, we had 2 minutes. And we must continue, so now we have 10 minutes delay. It's really the moment for me to finish. Thank you for your presence, and I'm sure we will have a nice evening and also a very good meeting tomorrow and after tomorrow for the persons who can stay here. Thank you very much.
One thing before you go. I forgot the most important thing I was supposed to say because I said so many things. But did you know that last week at the 47th Congress session, Mr. Lamberts was awarded with the Congress Medal to honorary members for his outstanding achievements throughout his career. So I would like to congratulate him again for the Congress, but I think you would too.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you very much. And the official opening is now finished. And we invite you for a buffet dinner that will start at 7:30. Please be on time. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess. I forgot to say it. And then I was like, yeah. Everybody can be impressed. They want to hang out with the guy with the medal.